Okay, so this is a kind of a review from what we did the other day. Write the piecewise function for this. All right, so first of all, figure out where your pieces are broken up on the x-axis. So if I'm using this as my measuring stick again, where do my pieces break? Okay, tell your neighbor where they break. All right, Logan, on the x-axis, where do they break? Okay, so notice they're not together right here, right? Okay, they both kind of come together on this line. What is this line right here?
Y.
That's the y-axis, but ignore the actual y-axis. I think I'm having a, hold on a second. All right, so we've got to get past the point that this is actually an axis right here. Okay, you only have one axis right now. That's this one. I can't draw over that because it's white or it's wet. But what is where are we at on the x-axis?
0.
Yeah, we're at 0 on the x-axis. When you get to 0 on the x-axis, that is where the y-axis exists, but that is the x-axis. Okay? Everyone with that? So that means when x is this side, when we're to this side of the x-axis, what do we have? Is it less than or greater than? It's less than. And when I'm to this side of the x-axis, I am greater than 0. So those are the two pieces that we're dealing with. Okay, now I can't remember if it was a solid or closed there. It was solid right here? Thank you. It was open right here? Okay. All right, so we're at 0. Now, from there, these numbers represent where our y-axis was. Okay, so for this line, what's the y-intercept? Yeah, it's -4. This is -4 right here. Okay, that's our y-intercept. What's our slope? We go down 1 and over 2. Okay, so -1/2. Okay, so our rule is -1/2 x minus 4 if x is less than 0. If x is greater than or equal to 0, because we have the solid, what's our y-intercept? It's -2. And what's our slope? Yeah, we got to rise 3 and run 4. Okay? So we get 3/4 x. Okay, and then we actually write it using our function set notation there. Okay? Sarah? Generally you'll kind of read it from left to right, but no, not really. Okay? You'll usually start with what happens first on the graph if you're reading the graph this way. Okay. Other questions? Okay, why don't you take out Friday's assignment, please? Hey, no, we're not on chapter 5 yet. We're still at 4-7. So, need your attention back up here. Okay, we're going to do 3 problems together, and then you're getting your assignment. So, let's see how well you can put one of these together again. Number 14 and number 15. 15 is a bit more challenging. There are 3 parts to it. But number 14, get that one done. And then while you're waiting, try number 15 there. This is on your student journal, page 130, please. Some of you had some questions, so let's go ahead and address some of those right now. First step, once again, you figure out where your graph becomes disjointed at. So where do the two pieces start breaking? 0. You got to identify the x-axis and then recognize that right here is where the two pieces become disjointed, and that line is x equals 0. Ignore the y-axis. So at x equals 0, you have two different pieces. You have your graph becomes broken right there. So on one side of that, at one side of that, you have that line. On the other side of that, you have that line. Okay? So when x is less than 0, because you have open circle, and then when x is greater than or equal to 0. That's the first step. Desha. Is it always going to be 0? No. Okay, so like look at this one, right? It becomes disjointed there at 0, but it also becomes disjointed right here at 1. Okay? All right, any other questions up to there? Everyone's good? Ask your neighbor if they're good.
What are we doing? We're done with
Kai, you're going to have to talk to Ty, too. Kai and Ty.
what are we doing? We're done with 15.
Okay, X, what's your question?
Oh yeah, I'm still kind of confused on the entire like if x is greater than or less than 0 part. Like for one of them, the one that has no slope.
Correct?
You just put if x is less than or equal to 3.
Well, are you good up to here? Let me explain that part here in a minute. Do you understand how I got these two things? Okay. Anyone not understand how I got those two things? You got to look at it from the x-axis. And all you're doing is looking at where these two pieces become disjointed. Following it down, it's at 0. Yes?
What are you doing if number 15?
Huh?
What are you doing? You're done with 15.
Bailey, do you think that's a good question right now?
I don't know.
Do you think that just interrupted my lesson? Am I having to now talk to you about this? While the whole class waiting. If you're done with 15, find something constructive to do and be thankful that you understand it well enough to be done with 15. Okay, so from this point, what's my y-intercept? Come on, man. Y-intercept. Where's it across the y-axis? Crosses at 0. Okay? What's my slope? This line. I'm not doing anything with this side right now. Just at that line. Yeah, some people actually think it doesn't actually cross right there. It actually crosses right there. Yeah, man. So that is a slope of
7 over 5.
7. 7 over 5. Yep. So 7/5. Positive or negative? Negative. Negative 7/5 x plus 0. Now, do we have to put the 0?
No.
No. Okay. So if x is less than 0, we have the function negative 7, or excuse me, we have the expression negative 7/5 x. All right. Now we go to the other side. If x is greater than 0, this is what you were asking. This is what you were asking, right? What's this line called? Yeah, what's the slope? 0. What's our y-intercept? 3. So 0x just means no x's. So we just have 3. Okay? So if x is greater than 0, our function is 3. Okay? So we have f of x equals that. That is what we're writing. All right, any questions right there? Okay, ask your neighbor how they're doing on it. You get it? All right. Any questions? Next piece. Let's look at number 15. How many times does it break?
3.
We've got 3 breaks. Okay? As we're reading our graph, the first break appears. Our first break actually appears where some of you won't think it appears, but where does it look like our line breaks first? Some of you see it at -3. Some of you see it at 0. Anywhere else? Okay, how many think it breaks first at -3? How many think it breaks first at 0? Okay, be engaged. So one or the other. -3, 0. Okay, I'm going to start with the break that happens at 0. Okay? Now, that does not mean erase any of your stuff, please. Okay? When x is less than 0, when x is less than 0, what do I get? Well, what's my line? It's just 3. Okay? Now, is that true forever, going this way? No, it only happens between 0 and... Good, it happens between 0 and -3. Therefore, those of you who said -3, you actually had it right there. You had to put that extra piece there. Okay. Could it equal -3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay? So, if it's between -3 and 0, we get an output of 3. All right, what happens if it's between, what's our next break after 0? Breaks right here again. Okay? So if it's between 0 and 1, how do we write that? Put x, we put here, 0 here, 1, just like you're working on a number line. Okay, so if it's between 0 and 1, okay, is this equal to? Yeah, we're looking right here. Is it equal to here? Yeah, solid dots on both. So if it's in between 0 and 1, what's our line? It's 4. Okay, what happens if it goes from 1 to 5? Good. And what do we get? What would our y-intercept be if we extended this line? It would hit at 0. So we'd have a y-intercept of 0. What's our slope? 1 over 1, or 1x. 1x plus 0, which is just x. Okay? And that's what we get. Oh, thank you. Okay? All right, everyone rate themselves 1 to 5 right now. Okay, we're starting to get them. Okay. Hey, let's see if you guys can graph one. Why don't you graph number 12 there? Do your best on it. Start by breaking up your y-axis. What's wrong?
He had done it.
Hey, for those of you that want some help setting up your grid, I'd probably draw my line right here. That might be helpful. At least your x-axis. You don't have to. Okay, guys. A good strategy when you're graphing these, and even when you're reading them, just look at the x-axis and start with your breaks. Okay, there are 3 parts. It's saying there's a part where x is less than -2. So if I find the -2 on my x-axis, just put a mark there. And then I go from that -2, I go in between. This statement right here says you have a graph that exists between -2 and +2. So I'm going to go to +2 and put another break. And then I have a graph that exists in the greater part of 2. So if I'm thinking of this, I really have 3 different pieces. Okay, I have this first piece right there, and that exists on this side of the graph. Those are my less pieces. Okay, less than -2. I have this piece right here, and that exists in this chunk of the graph. Okay. And then I have this piece that exists over here. So fun to color.
It is.
Okay? So that's kind of how it's broken apart there. All right? So now all you have to do is graph these things in those sections. So negative 2, we have the line y equals 2x. So what's the slope on this? 2. And what's your y-intercept? 0. Okay, so y equals 2x plus 0. So here's the struggle that some students have, is that when they're doing this, they're like, well, it doesn't, like, here's 0 right here. My yellow part doesn't hit that part. Well, you're right, but if you followed that line down, if you're doing a slope of 2, you'd rise 2 and run 1. You'd also fall 2 and run 1 this way, fall 2 and run 1 this way, and notice you eventually hit that yellow part. So your graph actually goes, like, here would be your line. The only part of that line that we would draw is this part right here, the part that's in the yellow region. And then you stop. Okay, so it ends right there, but it goes on forever that way because it says less than. It doesn't terminate. It keeps going. Could it actually be negative 2? Does it say equal to?
No.
No. So this would have to be open circle right there. So we have that first part done. In the pink area, it says y equals 2. Oh. Okay? In the pink area, it says y equals 2. So that means y is always 2 in the pink area. That is just a straight line that goes across at 2. Okay? Could x be negative 2? Yeah. So we could have a solid dot there. Could x be positive 2? No. So we got to look at the endpoints and say, well, it can't be that on that line. Brian, did I answer your question? Did we get your question? Okay. And then in the blue area, we have negative 2x, and once again, that's plus 0. So here's your y-intercept again. You would have to go down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1. Okay, so you'd have like there, and there, and there. And you would graph it, but it would only exist in which area? The blue. So you'd stop right there. Open or closed circle right here? It's closed. Okay, so all these little markings I made in here to help me graph, I'm erasing there. My graph would look like that, maybe without all the color. Okay? How many think you got it? Okay? Alrighty. I think we're going to call it good right there, at least until I get your assignment out. I might want to try to do a story problem with this later. Yes, Sarah? Hi.